I mean, everybody is worried about local businesses and friends who run local businesses. And I thought that you could give us a detailed sense of what's going on and, how we can help.
I think that first and foremost, what's going on is what's going on in Chestertown and Baltimore and Annapolis and everywhere else. It's kind of converted into a bit of a ghost town right now, unfortunately. We have seen our restaurants, I would say probably about 50 to 60% of them are doing carry out, or we're trying to pivot into delivery in some way. Most of our retailers are either required to be closed now or have chosen to be, just because the traffic, at least downtown, certainly isn't there. And so, yeah, I think it's been tough. But one thing I will say, from the Easton community and just the Midshore in general, we set up about a week ago a online gift card portal to support local businesses, giftcards.discovereaston.com. And it's been a really, really nice thing to see. This morning, we crossed over $8,000 in purchases. Yeah, it's really neat. 170 gift cards so far purchased. And so and it's all local businesses, a lot of them downtown. We're adding more and more as we can around the outskirts. But we have seen people, and that's honestly one of the best ways that you can support businesses right now. It's the only cash flow they're seeing is through these gift card purchases. And of course, you'll redeem them later on. But that kind of cash flow is what's keeping the lights literally on for them at this point. So giftcards.discovereaston.com. That's the easiest way to support them. We ship them out once a week. We purchase them once a week. And it's a pretty easy system, $25, $50, or $100 allotments that purchasers can choose from.
We saw that on the federal side, a major stimulus bill has passed that will be impacting businesses. I don't know if there's a Maryland component to this that is matching the federal effort, but could you give us a sense of what that landscape is like?
Yeah, that's kind of probably been the largest group of questions that we've received the past week or two. So there is a Maryland component to it. It's not $2 trillion, but there is a Maryland component to it. Often through loans. I think that the state, rightfully so, their primary goal right now is to decrease the number of layoffs. And that was probably the most jarring thing for us, to literally move in about 4 days or so from conversations about events being canceled to gathering numbers in terms of employees being laid off, especially in the hospitality sector. And so that is where Maryland's focused on. They do have grants upwards of between $10,000 and $50,000. Loans up to $50,000 for businesses through, I think it's businessexpress.maryland.gov, that you can access those resources. And I do know too, locally, we have been talking to some groups that are looking at whether it's a local foundation, local business groups that are trying to see what they can do. I will say just today, we launched a COVID-19 resource site, covid19.discovereaston.com, specifically for small business owners. It is geared toward Easton, but really any small business around the Eastern Shore can benefit. We've compiled resources from Main Street America on there, other foundations, and as foundations come up and as loan programs come up, we'll be giving information on there and trying to break it down into layman's terms for people to kind of know how to go through that. One thing that we've heard from our businesses, and I'm sure probably Kay and Chestertown can agree with this, our small businesses, our Main Street businesses aren't necessarily looking for a loan program. And that's the toughest thing right now, is they're not looking for another thing that can kind of anchor them down in some way. And so we are specifically looking for grant programs and other funding resources that can help our small businesses without that kind of immediate anchor that a loan or a debt can kind of put on them.
Many of these programs, though, are available to nonprofits too. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So many of them are available to nonprofits. One thing that we've noticed from the state, most of the programs, the SBA is not one of them from the federal side, but most of the programs are requiring you to deduct employment tax or have employees on your payroll. It could be one, it could be yourself potentially, but one of the hardships that we found with our really small businesses, our micro businesses that don't have employees, but simply have entrepreneurs that take from the profits when they possibly can, they don't qualify for these current grants, this current grant cycle, because they don't have actual payroll going out. And so that is one kind of caveat. Now, of course, the state and the federal government, they're pivoting as quickly as they can. I truly believe that. But hopefully we will see grant opportunities come up, or potentially loan opportunities come up that would open themselves up to businesses that don't have payroll set up.
I wanted to go over those points, but maybe you have some others that you want to share with the community.
We don't know. The biggest unknown is we don't know how long this is going to last. And you have, from what we've heard, a lot of experts that are not putting this at the 2 to 3 week window, but more the 2 to 3 to 4 month window potentially. And that's scary. I mean, that is, from a small business perspective, for a lot of our small businesses, not just the brand new ones, that is not a question of when they will reopen, but if they will reopen. And so any way that our consumers can help our small businesses now is really, it's an immediate need for us. And I will say as well, in the coming days, we'll be putting out a request for our property owners that have small businesses that lease from them to consider a pause on that collection of that lease till at least July. And so Detroit and Dan Gilbert's group, he's the CEO of Quicken Loans, his property group has kind of started this off and said, we're not going to collect any kind of lease payments until July. We're asking at least our property owners that truly believe that they can still put food on their table to pause that collection for 3 months. And the reason behind that is because truly from a community standpoint, we're worried without that major expense being paused that some of those businesses might not make it past that 3, 4, 5 month mark. And also we know from a property owner standpoint that it's much cheaper for them to pause collection for a few months than it is to fill a vacancy when that business potentially doesn't make it. And so even though it's a hard pill to swallow, I think, and I think it's important to understand too, a lot of our property owners do this as their business. They don't have millions and millions of dollars to give out. They're, kind of funding their family as well. And so we understand that this is going to create a hardship on them. But as of right now, it's kind of the only scenario that we see that doesn't cause us to have a dramatic shift in the way our town looks 4 or 5 months from now. It's a really sobering conversation to have, to be honest with you, and something that we weren't expecting to have 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were planning the St. Patrick's Day parade and the Easter egg hunt and those type of things. But it's kind of a truth, and especially for some of these business owners now.
Well, I'm sure this will not be the last time we'll be chatting, but thanks for the update. And
Sure.
we'll be in touch soon.
All right. Thanks, Dave.